Have you ever wondered how comfortable life would be living in the heart of a bustling city? We often picture city life as an oasis of convenience and prosperity, teeming with opportunities and surrounded by the glitz and glamour of modern living. Yet there's a stark contrast between this glossy perception and the grim reality faced by many city dwellers. For thousands of people in Hong Kong, life in the city isn't a comfortable existence. It's a daily struggle for survival. The term coffin homes isn't a metaphor. It's a harsh reality for thousands of Hong Kong's poorest residents. The origin of these homes dates back to the 1950s and 1960s, a time when Hong Kong was in the throes of rapid urbanization. A burgeoning population and a severe shortage of housing led to the birth of what we now know as coffin homes. Picture this: thousands of people, many of them new immigrants, pouring into a city that just couldn't keep up. The housing demand was far greater than the supply, and the government was struggling to provide affordable homes for all. The solution? People started to divide up existing apartments into smaller units, creating spaces barely large enough for a single bed. Thus, the coffin home was born. The name is chillingly accurate. These homes are no larger than a standard single bed. Imagine living your life in a space just big enough for you to lie down in. It's a stark contrast to the glitzy skyscrapers and luxurious apartments that we often associate with Hong Kong. These coffin homes, no larger than a standard single bed, have become the last resort for those who can't afford the skyrocketing rents in one of the world's most expensive cities. Living in a space just enough to fit a single bed where privacy is a luxury is the everyday reality of over 200,000 Hong Kong residents. Imagine living in a room that is barely larger than a coffin. Picture the only space you can call your own being filled by a single bed. Now picture that bed being surrounded by a set of metal bars, transforming your bed into a cage. This is the reality for thousands of people in Hong Kong, residing in what are known as coffin homes or cage homes. These homes, if they can be called that, are often no larger than 20 square feet. In such a cramped space, residents are forced to live, eat, sleep and work. The average cost of renting these spaces is around 2,000 Hong Kong dollars per month, or roughly 255 US dollars. For many, this is the most they can afford, despite working long hours in low-paying jobs. This lack of affordable housing in Hong Kong has led to an escalating crisis, with the city's poorest residents being forced into these inhumane living conditions. However, the problems associated with coffin homes go beyond just the lack of space. The sanitary conditions in these homes are appalling. Shared bathrooms and kitchens are common, and the lack of ventilation leads to damp, mouldy conditions that can have serious health implications. There's also a high risk of fire due to the cramped conditions and the use of makeshift cooking facilities. The psychological impact of living in such conditions is also significant. The lack of privacy, the constant noise, and the overall stress of living in such cramped conditions can lead to depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues. But perhaps the most tragic aspect of this situation is that for many, there is no escape. Low wages and high property prices mean that for the residents of these cage homes, there's little hope of ever being able to afford a better place to live. It's a vicious cycle of poverty, where the residents, despite working long hours, can barely afford these cramped spaces, let alone dream of a better life. The plight of these individuals is a stark reminder of the unseen side of rapid urbanization. As cities swell and skyscrapers reach ever skyward, the issue of affordable housing becomes a pressing concern, not just in Hong Kong, but globally. In the shadows of these towering structures, we find the coffin homes, a manifestation of this crisis. Yet, it's more than just a local issue, it's a global challenge. From the favelas of Rio to the slums of Mumbai, the struggle for affordable housing is a common thread that binds urban dwellers across continents. Hong Kong's government is grappling with this issue, attempting to strike a balance between economic growth and social equity. Efforts are being made to increase public housing and regulate rental prices. However, the journey towards a solution is complex and fraught with challenges. As we continue to urbanize, we must remember that a city's success isn't measured by its skyscrapers, but by how it treats its most vulnerable residents.